You guys ready for this? You guys ready for some bun? By the way, just so you know, bun is written in Zig. This just goes to show that Zig is also a language that is used in production and people use a lot of Zig. So I think that that's something that's super cool, right?
Bun is a complete toolkit for building, running, and testing JavaScript and TypeScript applications. With Bun 1.2, we're introducing new features and APIs that make it easier than ever. We've also spent a lot of time improving stability and Node.js compatibility.
Okay, nice.
And that's why companies like X are using Bun in production. Bun lets them ship features at scale in days instead of months.
Before we talk,
I wonder what he means by that. Why days versus months? Is he saying that developing in Node takes months, but developing in Bun takes days? I can't imagine that must not be what he means, right? Is what he's attempting to say, just hear me out here, is that the build system in JavaScript is so borked that what you build in days in Bun, because it just erases the build system and you run things via Bun, that takes months in regular JavaScript due to the fact that you have to argue with the build system. Is that what we're seeing here? Is that what's happening here? Okay, sure, I buy it. I buy it. I'm purchased and sold. All right.
In days instead of months.
I see, I don't get that.
before we talk about the new features in Bun 1.2, let's start with an update on Node compatibility.
Okay, yeah.
Bun is designed to be a drop-in replacement for Node.js. Bun supports all the major Node.js APIs like FS, Net, and HTTP. In Bun 1.2, we've added support for even more APIs,
Nice.
including dgram, HTTP2 server, and cluster.
Nice.
We've also made
Cluster. They really should have named it cluster, and then right after that, one more word, cluster festival. I feel like I love writing many threads with JavaScript. Cluster festival to the moon.
some major performance improvements. In Bun 1.2, a Hello World Express server handles 3 times more requests.
By the way, you should just ignore this. I don't think this is important. Hello World Express server. Yeah, I mean, perhaps totally real, all these kind of things, but there's like a lot of kind of trickeration when it comes to this. One thing that they do that Node.js does have a built-in a huge amount of hooks and things that Bun at one point didn't have, so I could be mistaken here. Hey, if I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, Bun. I'm sorry. But there's a whole bunch of hooks and stuff and extra things that run with the Node.js runtime that does not run with Bun. So things like Sentry, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's Datadog, or one of the kind of monitoring service, New Relic, is unable to actually hook into Bun as thoroughly due to the fact that it doesn't have as much of the stuff. Like, just so you know, none of this has to do with V8. This is not a V8 versus JavaScript core difference, okay? It's just not. And the reason being is that almost all the time spent doing a hello world in Bun versus Node is going to be not just spent, it's going to be spent more in the runtime than it is in the code, like the hello world you wrote. Because remember, you're literally just writing hello world there. This isn't a good one. What I want to see is, how does Bun perform in a server that's doing things, right? Because that's really what's awesome. That's good. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see hello world. I think Bun, honestly, what I'd love to see Bun do, please, Bun, do this for me. Could you please develop a large enough testbed program that isn't designed to just be really great with your features, like some sort of server-based game that runs a lot of JavaScript, that makes some system calls, that writes in and out to things? You know, you could easily do this yourselves, and you would be able to like show that this is how much faster it is under a proper load-bearing test. Like, this is how much better our runtime is. And then disclaimer, always disclaimer, we don't implement all of async hooks like it does in Node. And then when you do, then you don't even have to make that disclaimer, right? I just feel like these things are just super misleading.
Requests per second than in Node.js. In Bun 1.2, we started to run the entire Node.js test suite for every change we make to Bun. It's a suite that includes thousands of tests for Node's repository and ensures that if code works in Node, it also works in Bun.
Nice.
For each of the following Node.js modules, Bun passes over 90% of Node's test suite.
Nice.
Every day, Bun gets...
RIP, what? Isn't dgram, datagram, am I mistaken on that one? Isn't that just UDP stuff? Why you no like my UDP? I just want to put my UDP in it, and they're not letting me. What is that all about? Why? Por qué Maria? Por qué Maria?
gets closer to 100% node compatibility, and we're excited to share more progress on this very soon. Bun is designed as a cloud-first JavaScript runtime. That means providing built-in APIs for all the tools you need when running a production application in the cloud. That's
Hell
why
yeah.
we're excited to introduce S3 object support in Bun. S3 is the de facto standard for object storage and even predates Node.js. Think of it as the file system API for the cloud. There are dozens of S3 compatible services that you can use.
I think this is a good take, by the way. I honestly think this is a good take. This is kind of like the Golang approach, right? Golang has a pretty robust standard, and Dino is becoming more and more robust with its standard. And like, can we just all be honest for a second? People who are using Bun are either building, like, you are building things that run on the command line to interact with some sort of service, or B, you're building things on the command line to interact with like your system, so you don't need to worry about it there, or you're building things to run in the cloud and serve some sort of web stuff. And so it's like 2 out of 3 of those use cases could really benefit from having S3. And since S3 is likely not going to change and any newness is going to be very small, if there is any sort of change to the spec, I know there was a recent change, I believe. It's just like, why not? Why not make your standard so robust that any web application would be dumb not to use? Like, why not? Like, why would you just not why would you just not do the thing? Like, just run with it. Linode also has it. I'm sure Azure also has what's it called? S3 compatible storage. Like, why would you just not doing that? Like, why would you want to rely on more third-party things when everybody it's just so obvious? Just put it in. I actually think this is great. I think that people who look at Bun for putting too many third-party stuff into their standard is bad. I think this is great. I think this is beautiful. I think this is wonderful.
Use in production or
Absolutely.
even on your local machine.
On team, do
In
it.
Bun 1.2, you can use the new Bun S3 API to read and write files from an S3 bucket. It uses the same simple APIs as Bun file. It also extends the web standard APIs. That means you can pass it to any API that accepts blobs, like request and response. We've also made it possible to read and write S3 files with just a URL. Bun looks for well-known environment variables to configure your credentials in Bucket. If you want to customize and create your own S3 client, you can import the S3 client API. Bun's S3 client is implemented in highly optimized native code. The S3 client in Bun can download files in parallel up to 5 times faster than the leading NPM package can on Node.js.
I don't really understand why, but I would like to. So there has to be a couple reasons. One, shitty code, right? Like, can we all agree there's just maybe the JavaScript only allows one thing to be downloaded at the same time? But in my head, what would end up happening, this is my guess, so just hear me out on this one, is the reason why it's so much faster is when you download, say, a really large file. This is my guess, okay? So just hear me out here. This is what they probably did. Again, this is why I'm always so skeptical about any benchmark, is let's just say they had 5 really big-ass files. B, they have a really highly connected or whatever it is. How many files did they say? This is time spent reading 7,224 kilobyte files. Okay, so never mind. So here's this. So there's a bunch of parallelness to this. The thing is that JavaScript, what's the problem about JavaScript? First off, it's highly connected, okay? Obviously, it's highly connected. How do I know it's highly connected? What is 7,000 times that thing? What is that? That's hundreds of megabytes. Hundreds of megabytes is, of course, downloading in less than a second. That means you're fairly connected. Can we all agree? Okay, so this is a highly connected example. So what they've done, they're really just showing you the overhead of the processing. And the reason why this is important is that whenever you use JavaScript, you got to remember that it is single-threaded at the end of the day. Now, the internet, the networking can come in not single-threaded, meaning that it's able to actually, behind the scenes, download all 7,000 of these files, but the actual aggregation of these files is probably being done in JavaScript versus not JavaScript, which means that the event loop is being massively overran in one and not the other one, because the other one is probably running with actual threads, and so it's actually aggregating all this in native code and then handing out the final result. Very different. Hold on, I'm hearing some funny sounds out here. Hold on. All right. It's nothing. It's nothing. So, I mean, and then of course, to be even fair on top of that, Node has a bunch of async hooks, which makes each one of these processes even slower. And so I think this comparison is probably not amazing. But if this is not ran in Node, but this is ran in Bun, then even then it just goes to show like the cost of having to do things all in a single thread because they're assembling the files. I bet if you went into AWS SDK, they're probably using the HTTP client or whatever it is from Node, which then you do an on data chunk, which will then hand out the chunks. 7K means that there's probably, especially this many parallel ones at the exact same time. This will also mean that you will be getting in like, a packet or two at a time per file. Or maybe more than that, but either way, you're getting in like you're getting woken up and going back down over and over again, and so it's just like causing really intense churn. And this is obviously much better in Zig than this will ever be in JavaScript, because in Zig it's getting the network calls from there, it's aggregating the data right there in Zig, and then it's outputting it right there. Whereas in Node, it gets it in its native layer, C++, or if it's in Bun, it's getting it in Zig. It then has to wake up and call Node with a pointer to that data, or takes that data and actually puts it into the JavaScript ecosystem. The ecosystem then has now a pointer to that. It's been moved into it. Then it has to wake it up, and then it's done, right? You know what I mean? And so what is this metric? Well, this metric just goes to show you that if you make a lot of reads from S3, then yeah, let's see, who reads 7K? No, I think you're not thinking about it correctly. There are people that store a lot of data in S3. They use S3 as like a simple key value lookup in which their server could be hitting hundreds of times a second. And so having this process be fairly optimized is probably really good for your server. What they're trying to say is that if you use their S3 implementation, it's unlikely for Bun to make a large impact into your RPS. Or if you are really actually having to scale quite a bit, if you were to choose Bun and use this, you would actually potentially see an improvement in RPS, thus a reduction in machines. Could be a big W for you. But if you're running on, if you're like, cloud serverless bonanza stuff, you're probably not going to see much. So there you go, because you're running in a very different environment.
Just like object storage, another data store that's widely used in production is Postgres. And that's why we're excited to introduce built-in Postgres support for Bun. In Bun 1.2,
should have done SQLite. SQLite greater than all.
We're expanding the Bun SQLite APIs by introducing Bun SQL. Bun SQL is a fast, built-in SQL client for Bun. Postgres is the first database we support, and we have a PR to add MySQL very soon.
MySQL over SQLite? What are you doing? Come on. SQLite is already done. Oh, SQLite is already done. Oh, okay. Okay, hey, whoa. My bad. Okay, SQLite is already done. Okay. SQLite is already done. Okay. Oh, you did? Did I just miss it? Okay, well, let me re-listen. Okay, shut up.
And that's why we're excited to introduce built-in Postgres support for Bun. In Bun 1.2, we're expanding the Bun SQLite APIs by introducing Bun SQL.
Okay, started with SQLite. Okay, SQLite, SQLite OP, okay? SQLite's the most used database in the world. In fact, it is the most used piece of software potentially in the world. I'm not even sure what else, like Linux is used probably more, maybe. I'm not even sure if that's true. Like, I don't even know if Linux is more used than SQLite. Like, that's how insane it is. Curl, WinRAR, maybe? What about Java running on the Brazilian electric razors? Well, I mean, we've all made mistakes, okay? I can't fault somebody for making a bad decision, okay?
SQL. Bun SQL is a fast, built-in SQL client for Bun. Postgres is the first database we support, and we have a PR to add MySQL very soon. Bun SQL's APIs use tagged template literals to create queries. This prevents SQL injection by design, without having to manually escape strings. Bun SQL's APIs are inspired by the popular NPM package, Postgres.js. If you're already using Postgres.js, you can switch to Bun SQL by changing the import. Just like Bun S3, Bun SQL is implemented in native code instead of JavaScript. It can read rows up to 50% faster than the leading NPM package can on Node.js.
Bun isn't just a JavaScript.
I mean, I think that Bun is obviously making a really great play here. They're offering everything that you normally do, all implemented as much as possible in native. And I think their big play is that they're obviously going to try to make money off of aggregating a ton of users and building out some sort of, serverless, whatever their oven.sh is building out. They're just trying to make it as batteries included, as completely sticky as possible. There you go. Right? They're just doing it all. And this makes perfect sense. It's a great move. I think they're doing great. I think Node rested on its laurels too long. Like when people say competition is healthy, I think this was actually like a healthy place, right? Because think about how long TypeScript's been around, and within a year of Bun coming out, TypeScript, or now Node apparently runs strips TypeScript. It's funny. It's funny how this works, right?
Runtime. It's also an NPM compatible package manager. Bun install is designed to work with Node.js and Bun. Even if you aren't ready to migrate your application to Bun, you can still use Bun install with Node.js.
Dude.
In Bun 1.2,
think about Bun taking over JSR as well, also using that. Dude, think about that for a second. It is just doing it. It is just absolutely okay. Everybody keeps calling this guy Mark Zuckerberg. He doesn't look anything like Mark Zuckerberg, okay, people? Hey, come on. Just because a man has curly hair that's red doesn't make him look like Mark Zuckerberg, okay? Okay, look at this guy. Okay, now look at image of Zuckerberg. Are you telling me right now, this guy right here, chain, tan, probably drinking natty ice, is looking at the same guy? No, these are very different people, okay?
We're introducing the biggest update yet to Bun install, a text-based log file. When Bun install was first designed, we decided to use a binary log file for performance reasons, but we heard a lot of your feedback that they're impossible to review in pull requests, hard to fix merge conflicts, and difficult for tooling to use.
Yeah.
That's why Bun's new text log file is a JSON-C file, which is JSON with support for comments and trailing commas. This makes it much easier.
By the way, trailing commas. I still can't help it but to look at json.org, and every single day of my life, I curse this line right here. Why? Why come you no put comma there? Like, why come you no put comma there? It's like right there.
In pull requests, and trailing commas make it much less likely to cause merge conflicts. Some projects start out being faster, then get slower as they add new features. Bun is not one of those projects. That's why we spent a lot of time figuring out how to make the text log file just as fast. In Bun 1.2, we made cached installs 30% faster. For new projects, Bun install will default to generating a text log file. For existing projects, Bun will continue to use the binary log file. To migrate to the text log file, you can pass the save text log file flag to Bun install.
Bun is a complete toolkit for building full.
I do like that they're very concerned. I mean, can we at least agree to this? I don't typically like looking at any of these type of performance things, but we can minimally say that always and consistently being concerned about performance is probably really, really great. Who cares when it's 600 milliseconds of installing? There is something very, very nice when you have a system that's always concerned about performance. Hopefully it actually comes through and people really feel it. There is something there. There's a little bit something to that, right? And maybe perhaps they're taking in their craft a bit more, right? Good mentality.
You can pass the save text log file flag to Bun install.
Bun is a complete toolkit for building full stack applications with JavaScript and TypeScript. And front end is a really important part of your stack. In Bun 1.2, we're introducing HTML imports.
I like when Jared gets excited, he steps on his tippy toes. He's done it a couple different times. When he goes for emphasis, he also gets taller.
Is a really important part of your stack. In Bun 1.2, we're introducing HTML
Love it. The
imports.
Excitement. I'm the same way. I get
HTML
all bouncy on
imports
my ball.
simplify your entire front-end toolchain into a single import statement. Bun scans the HTML and automatically minifies and bundles JavaScript and CSS. Modern tools like React, TypeScript, and Tailwind just work. Together with HTML imports, S3, and Bun SQL, building full-stack applications with JavaScript has never been simpler. We're really excited to see what you build with Bun. There's so many more features and improvements.
I mean, that looked really nicely convenient. I don't know if you saw that. I thought that was a really good one. you can define your static things. So I just assume this means that they must cache them after a request, add some sort of cache header, blah 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 blah, some sort of strong tag on there. Puts it right here, bing bing bing, feels really nice. Then is able to actually statically send these things out as HTML. Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
JavaScript has never been simpler. We're really excited to see what you build with Bun. There's so many more features and improvements in Bun 1.2 that we can't go over them all. Check out our blog for everything else that we shipped in Bun 1.2. To get started with Bun, run any of the following commands in your terminal. That's Bun 1.2, and for Bun, it's still just the beginning.
The thing that I really do like about Bun quite a bit is I just love the mentality where it's all about how can we create an environment that is maximized in performance and maximized in convenience. I think this is a huge W. In some sense, it feels like a lot of the exact same mentality of Odin, the programming language, where Ginger Bill goes, okay, I want to make a language where you don't need dependencies. That if you're building a game, I'm going to give you everything that you possibly need to build a game. And I think that's like a really kind of cool mentality to have. And I think that obviously Bun has done a very good job to have that same mentality when it comes to the web. Do I think that they're going to end up including some stuff that's probably not that great? I bet you they're going to make some mistakes, right? They're going to include something that's going to change, that's going to become a pain in the ass, that things aren't, that aren't great. But that's just a part of this whole thing. And I don't think that avoiding making that mistake is necessarily a bad thing. It's just obviously every single time you include a dependency, you're also including something that you need to continue to work on, continue to make better, continue to really think about. So, there is obviously engineering danger with what they're doing, but I just really like that mentality. I think it's really good. I'm very, very excited about where Bun is going. Isn't that a recipe just to always be behind? Well, is it like they chose SQLite? To be completely fair, their choice of SQLite was mostly a really great idea because it's probably never going to change. But just recently, Terso announced how much they're actually rewriting and changing, and they're going to have a SQLite that's going to be able to adopt new stuff into it. So maybe they will. I'm not exactly sure what their driver is, how much that's actually going to affect SQLite itself versus how SQLite operates. So maybe they won't even have to do anything, right? Whatever makes you avoid a JS build tool, hell, exactly. What they're trying to solve is, I think, is a very interesting thing, because what you see right now is you see, what is his name? Evan Yu. He is doing Void Zero, right? Which is trying to build a build tool startup VC funded thing. Whereas Bun is like, no, we're going to build an environment that's also a build tool. I think their general direction is probably potentially much nicer long-term. At least I can see myself enjoying, like if I had to go and I had to build stuff in JavaScript, I can see myself gravitating more and more towards Bun. Right? I think they've done some really good stuff. Any thoughts on scope creep? They're doing too much too early? I don't think they're doing too much too early. They're just trying to make it as nice as possible. Vite is that way though, right? Well, Vite is, that's what Void Zero is, right? Void Zero is just Vite, but turbocharged. And instead, Bun is kind of carving off their own thing and saying, no, we're a whole environment. You want to have node compatibility? We got node compatibility. You want to do this new static serve? Hey, we got your static serve. Oh, hey, you want to do S3? We got S3 for you. Hey, you want to do that? We got that for you. They're just trying to be everything. What happens when they run out of VC money? That's the danger of all these things. That's the danger of Terso. Like, to be completely fair, Terso has the exact same problem that Bun has. Is they're rewriting and making an amazing version of SQLite that's going to be available for the community to drive as opposed to just 3 people driving. That is a really great thing. Okay? I mean, that's why do I think that's a great thing? It's the same reason why I think that NeoVim is a great successor to Vim, because Vim has always been closed off as Bram's project. NeoVim was always the community's project following Bram's lead. And I feel like it was always really, really amazing what NeoVim accomplished. And I think that Bun has effectively the same opportunity that NeoVim does, or not Bun, sorry, Terso has the same opportunity as NeoVim, because Terso is taking an open source project, removing the bus factor, and creating the next version that's also going to be added with more and more features, and allowing the community to say, hey, we really need these things, and then going through design and all that kind of crap, and then eventually saying, yes, this is the right decision to make. Yes, there's going to be the benevolent dictator Terso, but at the same time, there's going to be features that like make the community happy. And so that's great, right? And so that's why I like Bun. Bun's the exact same thing. It's just like, let's make everything super convenient. Let's try to run as fast as we can. We're going to create an environment that it will just hopefully make your life easier. Now, you got to remember, people who are using Bun are already writing JavaScript on the server, okay? So they're just downloading a crap ton of different dependencies and all that. So they already live in this idea that you just have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And so I totally see why Bun is great at this position. Every single Bun does something. It's like removing one of your dependencies, right? Like that's pretty great. They're taking more and more out of JavaScript and moving more and more into Zig in their runtime. Rock on, go get them, Bun. I think that's cool. There you go. The name is the Primogen.